Welcome back to First Deals and Closings, Part 2. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome to Talking Assets, ATL. Of course, you got your co-host, Jabril Porter.
And I'm Mrs. Key.
I'm Diamond.
And I'm Devon.
I think it's a testament to what we're doing and what we're finding is working in our business, that our clientele is coming from our sphere of influence. Obviously, our family, friends, whoever, we're staying visible in front of. They trust us. They know that we're in this business. We're active in this business.
Definitely.
That they would even reach out to us to work with us. One thing I was going to mention, I didn't know we were talking about closed leases. I definitely closed a lease before I ever closed a purchase or sale. And that is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day as it pertains to commissions.
Yeah, I figured I would throw that in because that is my first closing.
Yeah, and I separated that, okay? So. An approved lease is hard to get these days. It's just as challenging as purchasing the damn home. Like you got to have 3 times the rent as income in most cases.
The credit
score. 3 times the rent, no current eviction.
Oh, he knows. Yeah, go ahead.
No
property management.
The zip code. 650 credit score.
Yep.
Property management come through.
No bankruptcy, all that stuff.
I think that's another good question for today's episode is what motivated us to get into this industry?
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say for me, I didn't have intentions on being licensed in this industry unless my intention was to get licensed just to represent myself in my own real estate deals, okay? But you know what I'm saying, and make that commission.
Yeah.
But what motivated me to get started, I don't come from a lineage of homeowners. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that we obviously inherited the family's house, which belonged to my great-grandparents. So, you're talking about 2 and 3 generations behind me. But my mother, my grandmother, many of my first cousins, no one owned their home. And I saw, from my great-grandparents, just how much pride they had in owning their own home. Right. My great-grandfather was a Jamaican immigrant, so it meant a lot for him to have come from nothing and come to the States and build this foundation for his family. And I know if he could have, he would have taken his home to the grave. Okay. So
anybody raised in a Jamaican household know that's true.
Okay. And listen, he didn't like no lazy folks. He ain't giving you nothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've actually sat down with my great-grandfather and asked him, well, would you sell it to me? Yes, I would sell it to you for market value. And I'm like, so you're not getting anything. And it definitely wasn't an easy transition for us to even take ownership. We had gone through probate. There was a whole process to that. But when we, obviously got the house, it was important for me for it to stay in our family. It was important for me to see my grandmother, who took care of her parents, to reap the rewards of, this investment that they made. But that, like I said, that really just showed me, the value of ownership. We have to own shit, period. And since that day, I have always made it my intention to not only purchase, my own primary residence, but to invest in real estate because it can be such a lucrative, industry. It can be such a wealth builder for the future generations. And I am all about setting the next generation up to be better than what we're doing now.
I mean that.
So that's what really piqued my interest in real estate.
Yeah. So my peak actually came from, I guess, childhood. My mom is actually an investor. She is a long-term investor.
Yeah.
She buys and holds. She built a lot of her wealth through appreciation in particular, by buying properties at a cheaper rate and, obviously holding on to them or selling them, being able to pull from them if an emergency ever was to come about, because emergencies do come about and you never know when they're coming. Yeah. So, I'm actually familiar with real estate on that end. My dad owns a construction company. And, you know, I was heavily into real
Exposed
estate.
to it for sure.
When I was young, I always said I wanted to become an architect.
Me too. I wanted to marry one, but same thing. You know? Same thing. Shout out to my husband. He's not an architect, but he's a shit. Yeah. Come on now.
But you know, I'm a realtor now. I have some goals of wanting to be a builder, build homes, a subdivision hopefully one day.
Awesome.
But yeah, I've always been in the mix of real estate. So getting my real estate license was like, okay, a no-brainer. I went to school for finance, and after that, I moved here and jumped into property management. And from there, I was like, real estate is where it's at. And I really just picked up and quit and jumped into real estate.
Hey, that's the best way to do it.
Whoa. Disclosure.
You got to
Okay, give it, please.
Just a quick disclosure. I had a nice savings account, okay,
All
for
right.
a few years.
Okay.
Perfect.
Before I made that decision.
Thank you for letting
it
everyone
wasn't
know
just
that.
a spontaneous. It's always been an idea to become a realtor, because obviously being a finance major and an architect is just not the same. So I didn't want to go back to school, but I did see another way out to, you know, fulfill that dream.
So it was the calculated and somewhat of a planned transition for you
Yeah,
to
it
quit
was-
your job.
Yeah, because although,
Yeah.
you know, I don't currently invest in real estate right now or have any, you know, properties, I do have a long-term goal of owning real estate.
That's
because
right.
I do feel like that is a great wealth builder,
Absolutely.
and that is the end goal eventually.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, for me, I want to say, like Jabril, like it wasn't my mom, but it was my dad who, him and a couple other people, I would touch base on that. But initially, seeing my dad transition in his life to different things and different careers. So, hey, my dad was in the NFL, you know, and then he got hurt.
Can we get tickets?
Well, that was so long ago. I was a
You never know Daddy's connects.
okay. But realistically, so him getting hurt, and he had to figure out something else. Like, okay, how am I going to provide for my wife and my 2 children?
Period.
How am I going to provide?
Even as a professional athlete, you've
Even-
got to think about those
Right,
things.
but he got hurt. He couldn't play anymore.
Right.
Like it was it. His knee was toe up. Okay.
Mhm.
So after that, hey, I'm originally from Gainesville, Florida. My dad went to the UF. Go Gators.
Nice.
But so my dad, he came back from Denver. He came back and he moved us from Gainesville, Florida, up here to Georgia, to Atlanta specifically. And from there, he went directly into finances. And it's so crazy because we have so much in common. Although you own your own dealership. My dad, he opened, I want to say, about 3 or 4 dealerships here.
Okay.
So the first Kia dealership in the state of Georgia, my dad was the
Nice.
general manager over there.
Nice.
And then he was at different dealerships, finance manager and things such as that. So after that, he evolved. And he eventually went to own his own mortgage company for a short time. And then he decided, hey, I don't want to do this no more. So he packed up. And
What year was that? 2008?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But no, it was like 2006. So like
Okay.
around that
Close to
time.
The
Okay.
beginning of
To the
that,
market
that
crashing.
market
Right,
crashing. 'Cause That was
right.
things we just didn't know what was about to
Right.
happen.
So I'm like, hey, my dad, he had a sixth sense on that. But he decided, hey, I want to do something different. So he decided to move back to Florida. And he's been in sales and just doing different things. He done lived in Dominican Republic and then opened up restaurants there and has just done so many different things. So his influence as far as like that mortgage piece and assets and finances,
Yeah.
I think that, really influenced me
That's
to
a great foundation.
to actually look into entrepreneurship as well as finances and mortgage and stuff. My second influence, I want to say, she really helped me a lot. It's my mom's best friend, and she was actually my old boss. She was really like one of the first Black women that I seen excelling in real estate and corporate at the same time.
Mhm.
And I was young, like I was like 8, 9 years old. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's what I want to
be
do.
her when I grow up.
I didn't want to be
Yeah.
her, but I was like, hey, I want to be a businesswoman
Yeah.
and I want to be an entrepreneur.
It's the representation.
I want to be
yeah.
a real estate agent. I wanted to be a sports medicine doctor too, but
You can have it all, sis.
I don't want to do that. it's too much to do right as
You
far
was
as
gonna
that.
be the next Tony Childs.
But yeah, so her name was Trish McCord. So she really helped me And she actually gave me my first opportunity as far as working in real estate at 20 years old. She was like, hey, my company is hiring. It's not in my department, but I think it's something that you would like. And I think everybody knew, like since I was a kid, I said, hey, I want to be a real estate agent, or I want to be in real estate. So when I got the opportunity, I was like, I don't care if it's the most basic level position at this company. I'm gonna get it. That's my foot in the door. So that really like solidified, like, yeah, I'm really in real estate at 20 years old. Although, yeah, I'm not buying and selling, but I'm on this other side getting all the information that I needed. So for like 10 years, I'm pulling and just getting information
and knowledge,
knowledge from everywhere. And then my last influence, her name is Marilyn Thomas. She actually worked at the company when I got there, and she was like my supervisor. So she taught me everything that I knew. I'm talking about everything I knew, from projects to just training on real estate requirements, foreclosures, just everything that I needed to know. So she poured into me like I was her kid. She don't got no kids, but she really poured into me, and that really influenced me. Like, like I'm gonna keep going. And once I do finally get to the step of actually being a real estate agent, I'm gonna have so much knowledge. So that was like my goal early on in the beginning. But hey, I was laid off too.
Why does he look like that?
Like, listen,
we was laid off.
No hard feelings, you know?
But I knew that it was time, because I spoke it into existence, because I kept telling everybody, hey, I'm not leaving my company. You know, I make about 6 figures. I'm not leaving my company until they laid me off, because I just knew, like, yeah, they're gonna have to give me a cute severance. Like, I've been here a long time. Y'all gonna give me what but they didn't give me that.
That was cute, because once I got my real estate license, it was 30 days. I was already 2 weeks with a 2-week notice.
Okay.
But the thing is, so they gave me 2 weeks. They didn't give me my 2 weeks for every year that I've been there. They only gave me 2 weeks pay.
Oh, you mean like severance pay?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was kind of hard for me, because I was like, okay, this was my expectation for years. Like, hey, you know, I knew all of
that was your exit strategy.
Like, I knew all of the policies, but I was like, hey, I'm not gonna start fully into actually being a realtor until I get laid off, because I was very comfortable. But God was like, hey, you keep talking about this, I'm gonna make your ass uncomfortable. So that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Well, not complacent, but
it could have gotten there.
It could have
gotten there out of comfortability.
Exactly.
You know? But I have a very similar situation to you, where for me, I feel like I had manifested that as well. You know, when you talk about goal setting and setting your intentions, I would always title myself a real estate entrepreneur and investor. And not only that, I'm putting full time in the front of me. So I feel like any leading up
now
to,
she's talking.
Okay,
once she said full time.
But leading up to it actually happening, I was making so much money. I felt like, I guess in my adult career, that I believe God knew that if you keep making the money you're making, there's going to be some complacency here.
And that's why I said, like, I wasn't complacent, but I was just like, hey, I know this money is here, but I didn't want to leave my teams, because
you're loyal.
But that was the thing, because I was overseeing so many different departments.
Okay, yeah.
And they were so dependent on
you. That's how they get you, girl.
And it was so hard to like train them and like, hey, you know, as far as what I did, because I did so much.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, if I leave,
she's like, the companies fall down. But this is
so
the thing. That's what we think.
Right. And that's so funny that you thought that.
It's
meanwhile, me being a property manager, I made a lot of money, you know, especially with not just salary, but bonuses and commissions. You know what I mean? So, and my whole thing was, all right, if I'm making this, what else can I make?
Okay.
What's the next
next level? Yeah.
Where's my chapter here is, you know,
has reached its ceiling.
Yeah, it's almost over. And I felt like there was more to come from just this. It might take time to get there, but it was. And then I was catching the bonuses and the commissions. That made me realize that because with property management, the numbers make sense, not what you're talking about. You know, those numbers is what they have to number.
Yeah. Okay.
They got to be numbering. So I was like, what's next? And if I'm doing so well for this person's company? What can I do for
My
myself?
own.
Right.
Go
And
ahead.
And
that was
I'm
one of my
telling
things
you,
too.
that was
yeah.
what got me to quit, because everybody was telling me that was crazy.
Like, man, like me seeing, hey, my company just made $900 million off of a 2.2 billion project that I put together, that I coordinated and managed and did all of this stuff. But I can't even get the raise that I deserve. Or you guys looking at me like, hey, yeah, you done been here, but just give us some time. We don't got all that money. And I'm looking like, baby, my department is making all the money. I'm seeing all of this money coming in. I'm the one giving the quotes in the beginning. I know how much this project is going to make. I know the revenue coming off of this. And you're going to tell me this, like, my department made the company money. And this was not just a national company. This is an international company. Like, we have offshore everything. My department is making all the money. And you're telling me that you can't do what, hey, just slide me a couple more dollars, or,
Child, they could.
or
They
hire
just,
somebody
they
else.
just
Help
wouldn't.
me. Help me. Hire somebody else, because I'm doing 10 different jobs. I'm overseeing 5 different departments at one time. I'm just one person. And making decisions from the most basic to basically senior level positions. It was just like, yeah. So that's hey, God, he knew it was time for me, because
You ask,
was
you shall
still
receive
like,
with God. That's one thing
yeah,
for sure.
definitely. So
What got you started in real estate?
Like I said earlier, I fell into it. I
Literally,
I
he fell
literally- I
into
really-
it, and
literally
when he
fell
was
into
walking the
right
house
into a
with the
ditch,
squatters.
right into a ditch.
Yeah, if you know Atlanta,
You
there's a lot of
survived, though.
sinkholes.
Exactly.
Like,
you
you
fell right
survived.
into it.
But I fell into it, like I said, by way of my friend. I do come from a family. My grandmom owns her house. My grandma, my grandpop. On my dad and my mom's side, they both own houses. My mom owned her house. My dad, which is funny, he owned a house, but then it's always a situation, he'll talk about it, what my mom and him, whatever. So from there, I actually was never interested in real estate, really. Like I said, I fell into it by way of my friend, and I started getting interested when we started going out to properties, and I started like really seeing stuff in person. And I always, even though I tell people don't think it's HGTV, when I was starting in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, we about to flip this like HGTV."
Look, I be
you know
thinking
what I'm
like
saying?
that too. I be wanting to be.
So it's like, but by me falling into it, it made me fall in love with it, as far as like understanding it more, understanding like how things work, and seeing my friend, because she was a licensed realtor in PA and New Jersey. So like seeing her actually running around with her clients, and she tell me stories about everything or whatever, and I'm like, okay. So I was able to get like some insight.
He's like, this is like film.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and my thing is like, I hate monotony, so I'm like, I don't want the same thing to happen every day for me. So I like real estate because it's always something different.
No real estate deal is the same.
Never.
Exactly. And so that's why I was like, oh, I think I like this. And then also when I actually started digging into the education part of it, I was like, it's a lot that, because I never was interested in it before, realized that it's a lot that I didn't realize about real estate. I was one of those people prior, like I said, that was like, oh, this house, I'm gonna buy this house, and that's how it's gonna go. Like, it's almost like, because I was so used to, outside of me coming from a family that had real estate, I was renting, so I'm like, so we look at it in by way of like renting. You go, you put X, Y, and Z down, and then you move in.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking at it in by way of like buying. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how I kind of fell into it. I'm one of those persons people, I guess I should say, that kind of, I just jump into it. I'm not a person that plans. I feel like I learned a long time ago that if you over plan, you'll be paralysis analysis.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to over plan my life, because I don't know what tomorrow brings.
Come on, you gotta have a sense of urgency.
And that's how I move. I think that comes from me being in the TV and film industry. We always say there's a sense of urgency in everything we do. And people don't realize that. They just see the ending goal, everything that's edited. They don't see the whole behind the scenes of it. But everything is a sense of urgency. Like, it has to get done now. And that's how I live my life. But it's just urgent. So
I think, there's something to be said about, not just mindset, right? Because, when we talk about coming from working in other industries or having like a W-2 job and having to launch into entrepreneurship, there has to be a mindset shift when you're doing that. But two, you touched on something that made me think about over planning, right? Over analyzing things, and having it that you don't really get started or launch out. Some of that too is attributed to personality type as well. And that's something y'all already know. I can't wait for us to unpack and uncover, what our own personality types are and how that even impacts us in this business as licensed realtors, who we work with, who we partner with in business, just the relationships that can come out of that. So really good stuff. I mean, I feel like we've learned so much about, just everybody's respective perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On working your regular jobs, but entrepreneurship as well, and what that transition looked like for all of us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I think this is where we can kind of wrap it up. But
Yeah.
Jabril, you want to tell them where they can find us? And
as you guys know, you can find us Talking Assets, ATL, on Instagram, YouTube, and we have a Apple podcast app stream.
Coming soon.
Look, we're also
Coming
on
soon.
TikTok, and on TikTok we are Talking Assets.ATL. So don't forget to put the dot so y'all can see us on TikTok. Doing some challenge. I'm just kidding.
Get those gems.
But yeah, we would definitely be posting on TikTok. What else?
And before we let you guys go, if you don't mind, let us know if you do plan on getting into real estate. What motivates you to get into real estate?
Yeah, we would love to hear from you guys, especially our newer licensees or people who are embarking on that journey. Let us be a resource to you. That's what we're here for. But we will see you guys next time.
Be
Peace.
safe.